411 Live.
Where you can learn about issues that impact us every day. State of world, 411 Live.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. Boy, your girl, 411 Live.
Hello, this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. I'm Beverly Taylor. This is a video podcast series dealing with human trafficking, specifically sex trafficking. We want to bring awareness to this issue and increase the discussion surrounding it. One of the risk factors for someone becoming a victim of sex trafficking is if they have sexual assault in their past, in their life. That makes them vulnerable. A sex trafficker will zero in on that vulnerability. Today, we have guests who are joining us to talk about 5 generations of sexual assault. And we're calling this generational molestation. The story is incredible. I was about to say that some may find it a little difficult, but I don't think anyone should avoid listening to this story because it really, really brings awareness and brings things home. And my guests are so willing to talk about this and reveal so many things. And I thank you both for doing that. We have a mother and daughter here. Elizabeth Brown.
Yes.
That's the mom.
Yes.
And the daughter, Amazshea Lee. Did I
Yes.
say that right?
Yes. You said that.
Yes. They are also authors. So we're going to get into their book too, because they are telling their story because they want to help other people. And I believe it will. So if you have questions, comments, ideas about future podcasts, send them our way because we want you to be definitely a part of this project and part of this conversation. We're going to get right in here because we have a lot to talk about. And when I was talking to you on the phone, I was just like, my mind was blown. It was just like, what?
Yes.
What? But this is happening. And your story is not unique.
No.
Although for me, it's
Yeah.
unique, but it's happening. It's
Yes.
happening. And because you guys are willing to share, more people will talk about it. And you were talking about that silence. And that silence, that's a problem.
The silence is the sickness of
Yeah.
child molestation and also any trauma.
Yeah.
I'm a believer that when you are violated at a young age, your violator takes your power because he takes your voice or she takes your voice. We are, as you stated earlier, 5 generations deep in my family of us surviving molestation inside the family. My grandmother was violated. My great-grandmother, my mother, myself, my daughter, and my little sister as well. When I first came out with my first book, I found out, I thought then that I was the third, but then my daughter came out with hers as well. And it was just, like you stated, mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing. What's even more mind-blowing is to know that we suffered in silence. That we shared what we would call a rites of passage that was passed down of being a strong Black woman and living in our truth within ourselves. So I learned from my mother how to deal with it, not to deal with it, and what I didn't know, that I had passed that on to my daughter, because when I asked her why didn't she tell me, she stated that she wanted to be strong just like me, and if I could live with it and deal with it, then she could too.
Wow.
So
That broke your heart.
destroyed me. Because it's one of those things when you don't understand that your children don't do what you say, they do what they see you do. And that although all of those years that I put a smile on and pretended to be okay, I learned that my daughter also, from the time she was 9 till she was 12 years old, she pretended to be okay for me.
For you.
And I pretended to be okay for my mother.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that yeah,
Yeah,
kind of destroyed me.
let's talk about what happened to you.
I was 7 years old. My older cousin, I think he was about 16 or 17. I looked up to him, role model, protector. Um, we went to my aunt's house it was a barbecue. Basically, all the family would get together at my mother's oldest sister's house. And, in black families, we get together, the kids go play, the parents get together, they drink, they,
Right.
converse. My cousin approached me to help him take a basket of clothes in the basement, and then he would give me a sneaker. I didn't know at that time that I was being given a sneaker, and my innocence was going to be taken. But that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
Took me into the basement. What I didn't understand then, but I do understand now, that there was grooming prior to that. Where my grandmother would give him, because he was the older cousin, so she would give him candy and stuff like that to dispute among the kids, and he would give everybody equal pieces until I was getting ready to walk away, and he would grab me and be like, here, Liz, here go 10 extra pieces. Shh, that's our secret. And it went from that. If I could hold that secret of candy, then it was the secret of me allowing him to see my underwear, and so on and so forth. And I'm understanding that now, as far as how the grooming plays along, and how stranger danger has no relevance here, that it's the people you love, it's the people you trust. The vampire is basically invited in.
Right.
It's the people that you trust. And I'm also understanding in my survival today is that a child that's been touched will touch, but a child that's been taught will teach. So understanding that by breaking our silence, we break the generational cycles that continue to perpetuate themselves. Because my mother did disclose to me at 7 years old, me and my sisters, because I have 3 sisters, my mother had 4 daughters, that she was molested. But at 7 years old, what is molest? So that's another reason why we started to write the Busy Bee books.
Right.
To become familiar with the verbiage, molestation, what it is, what it looks like, how to follow the gut feeling. If it feels wrong, then it is wrong. Speaking the truth about the games that we play as children, hide, go get it, house, doctor. These are also games that sets to start to perpetuate that cycle, being silent and playing those games amongst other children who has been touched as well.
Right.
And so you become relaxed when it comes to the next step, which is someone taking you in the basement and asking you to take your clothes off.
Yeah. That's kind of like grooming.
Correct.
Yeah. So your mom tells you at 7 that she was molested.
Yes.
You don't really get it.
No.
And I guess she was telling you as a way of protecting you.
Correct.
Okay.
She was telling me and my sisters as a way of protecting us, but it was never broken down in layman's terms of what molest was. She was just like, I was molested by my brother. I didn't understand that at 7 years old. Like,
Right.
oh, okay, whatever that is. But and the same way that her mechanism of how to protect us by telling us, my mechanism for my daughter was to create this my monster, which was a man. I would tell her, did he touch you? He didn't go in the bathroom. So in her mind, she was ready to defend herself
Against
when it
the
came
man.
to a man, and she was violated by a woman.
Right.
So it was one of those things where we were trying to protect our children,
Right.
but it's not what you say, is like how you say it, and it needs to be broken down in layman's terms for children to understand what it looks like, what it sounds like, and what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Amashea, so your mom is talking to you, and what does she tell you about? She's telling you, watch out for men, or
Basically, so when I was 2, my dad left and he came back, and she allowed me to go, with him because he wanted to be back in my life. So when I come back home, she'll ask me did anybody touch you? Did your dad touch you? And as a kid, you just like answering the questions because you want to like go play. Like,
Right.
no, ain't nobody touched me. Like, can you stop asking me that? Like, but I felt like I honestly buried it. I didn't know what it was. Didn't feel like it was wrong. Like, but I didn't really realize I was touched until I was asked, like, even if it wasn't a boy, did somebody touch you?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was more of like, okay, yeah, somebody did. Like, yeah, I didn't feel comfortable about it, but it happens. And, you can't stop doing what you got to do to make yourself a better person 5 years from now. So you got to, what I'm saying, keep it moving because it's like, it's supposed to be normal, I guess. Like, it happens to everybody, but I didn't think nothing of it. I ain't think nothing too big of it. So,
Okay. And how old were you?
she started at 9, and then it went all the way up until I was 12.
And this was a older cousin too?
Yes, it was an older cousin.
What's with these cousins, right?
As a survivor, we have to understand that if we're not stating it's wrong, then why would somebody stop?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things when we start to take accountability, when we start to break the chains of the shame, because a lot of us carry that shame, and in our silence, the predators prey. So we have to be realistic with ourselves. So by me owning that I was violated, now I can call out my violator, and then he can get help, but I can let go of the chains of shame. I can break those chains and also step into my light. And when you step into your light, you understand that the shame was never yours in the first place.
Right.
That was never your cross to carry. That was your violator's crucifixion for them to carry. So when you start to tell your story and start to live your truth, things start to kind of make sense. Because all of those years that I had downplayed it, blamed myself, thought about how I was saving my mother and my sisters, because if I told my dad, he was going to kill my cousin. And, being violated, you thinking about everybody's safety but your own.
But yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell people all the time, the first thing we have to do as survivors is give ourselves credit that we survived. Because that's the
huge.
last thing we do.
Mm-hmm.
We blame ourselves for everything. But at the end of the day, when you start to understand that the only thing that you could have done, you did, which was survive.
Right.
And we survived that.
So you were telling her, you were asking her questions when she went somewhere, did somebody touch you?
Yeah,
blah, blah,
did
blah.
he?
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you tell her that you had been molested?
No, I didn't, because
you didn't tell her that.
No,
she didn't know that.
I didn't even know that I had been molested. I didn't figure out that I had been molested until I was 30. I was having a conversation with my fiance about a little girl that was violated, and he said something that triggered me. That the uncle that was violating this little girl gave her candy. And in that moment, it took me back. I could smell the basement. I remember the ringer washer that was in the basement, how he took me in the back. Like, in that moment, it all came rushing.
Wow.
But what I did know, I didn't understand the process, but I was such an angry child,
Mm-hmm.
and I never understood the method to my madness until everything started to come back to me. Why I was so violent in these relationships with men. Why I didn't, I would give a woman or a girl 10 times, she could say and do whatever. Cause I'm like, girl, whatever,
right.
But a man, it's like, no, I'm automatically on 10. I'm in his face. I'm trying to destroy something. And I never understood what that was. My mother had sent me to anger management and all of these things. But now I realize being 43, that was my 7-year-old self that had vowed never to be hurt by another man again in my life. So it was one of those things where it was like, well, we have to understand as survivors too, if we don't reveal and heal from our childhood traumas, that child continues to show up. in
Yes.
times and places and spaces that will wind you up in jail or in prison, and you don't understand why you're blacking out and why you're so angry, but that be your child. I didn't know that my adult self would be the person that would save the 7-year-old Liz,
Yeah.
but I was.
Yeah. Absolutely. Had to go back
You have to
to
go
that
back.
past.
And the way that I explain my story is like being murdered before my time. And always my spirit refusing to go to the light. My 7-year-old self refusing to leave because I never owned that she was violated. I never gave her credit. I never, I was running from it. Like, didn't want her to be real.
Right.
But until I recognized that, like, I would always go back to the scene of the crime. And in these relationships, that scene of the crime would have me just being vicious. And so when I decided to speak my truth, then I was able to allow 7-year-old Liz to go to the light. She was able to be buried, because we have to understand as survivors, you can't bury something that's not dead. My violation wasn't dead.
Right.
So I had to go back to her and okay her that it was all right, that I'm grown. I can take care of myself, that it was never her fault. She did all that she could do. And then she was able to go to the light and allow me to, in my adult self, be who it was that I needed to be after I stripped away everything that I was trying to be for the world. I was a mother, I was a sister, I was a neighbor, I was a co-worker, I was everything to everybody else, but I really never was anything to me.
Wow. Okay. We're going to take a break. Much more to talk about. Quick break. We'll come back. We will continue this story. We'll talk about the 5 generations of women who were molested in one family, but also in that same family, 5 predators. We'll be right back.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
Life's daily battles are not meant to be fought alone.
We're not powerless, so long as we don't lose sight of what's important.
Don't be afraid to seize that moment to talk to your friends.
Cloud, you okay?
Because checking in on a friend can create a safe space.
The first step on our new journey. You coming?
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Seize the awkward. It's totally worth it.
Welcome back to the 411 Live. I am here with Elizabeth Brown and her daughter, Amazshea Lee. They are talking about an incredible story. We titled this Generational Molestation because 5 generations of women were molested in one family.
Yes.
By relatives in that family.
Correct.
So that's 5 generations of
predators.
Yeah. That's an incredible, incredible story.
And I don't think, when I sit back and I think about it, when me and my daughter got together on how, how everybody wants to be, the victim and nobody wants to be the villain. But when you come to reality and the way that it dates back, when I'm talking to my mom and, the things that transpired with her, and then my grandmother, even the stories of my great-grandmother, what was so sad is like we all had a story, but neither one of us wanted to tell.
Yeah.
So, as we sit back and we get together now, the conversations are so deep because we have to understand that this so-called family heirloom that was done in this house stays in this house, that tattletales get their butt whooped, is how me and my daughter got together and decided to create the Lizzie B. Busy Bee books, saying it's okay to tell, because I feel like, especially in our culture, we feel like certain things are common sense. And common sense is not common because I was never told it was okay. The tattletale got they butt whooped. The snitches got stitches, you know?
Right.
Like what was done in the house stayed in the house. Don't air the family's dirty laundry. Like it was chains of shame.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't want certain people to know certain things, but in our silence, the predators are able to prey. And not only that, you don't understand that what's not spoken will be repeated. So 5 generations of that silence, of that sickness, it continued to perpetuate. And I was just so glad that God chose me to be the generational breaker.
Yes.
So with my daughter, because when we sit back and think about it, my great grandmother, you know, as a mother, when you carry your child in your womb for 9 months, their emotions, their feelings are yours. So when I sit back and thought about the fact that my great grandmother was violated, gave birth to my grandmother, who also was violated. Carrying those energies, our children carried those energies and was birthed in this world broken. And the energies we carry usually are the energies we draw. So when you understand that you're carrying this violation with you in silence, that a predator picks up on that energy because you're carrying a victim's energy. And then you find yourself in these relationships and you wonder why, like, how are these people, how I keep winding up?
Yeah.
But if they're a predator, then you're like blood in the water to a shark.
That's good.
They're drawn to you.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when we start to think about human sex trafficking, I hear everybody talking about human sex trafficking, but the foundation to the house of the human sex trafficking is a child that's been violated at home first, running away from that, and then come into contact with a predator that knows this child has been violated, knows how to groom her, know what to say, know what to do, and then there is the presence of money. Because this child has been violated in their homes for nothing. So now if she can get paid, why wouldn't she? Or why wouldn't he? Because now it makes sense. Somebody in my household was taking it for free, but I can use what it was that they was taking because now I'm in control and I know that they have to pay me. So it's easy for them to digest. And then that becomes, again, another learned behavior like everything else. And you become lax with it, unsensitized to it. Like my daughter stated, it becomes a norm.
Wow. Amashea, let's go back to you. You said 9 when you. So this is a female cousin, who started touching you, and molesting you until you were like 12.
Yeah.
That kind of triggers things in so many people's minds because they think of him as a man, you know, not a woman.
Correct.
How did you process? So you didn't tell anybody?
No.
Just kept it to yourself.
Yeah.
So when did it come? She said 30.
I was 30 something.
30 something.
I don't exactly know when.
When did you reveal?
Well, I didn't tell my mom until I was 18, but I knew when I was 12. She tried it again when I was 12, and at this point, like, I was angry. So it was a fight that happened, and it was just more of me telling her, like, you're not finna keep doing this to me. And after that, like, I left the room, and it was like the family was around because it was a family gathering. I left the room, and I just, I was being myself. Like, I was, like, ain't nothing happened. And, now, like, when I see her, it's more of the fact that I'm uncomfortable and, like, I'm ready to, like, destroy everything around me. I think the difference now is that, like, now that I'm 21, I'm actually sadly going down the same path as my mom. I'm more angry than I was because I'm really, like, a real bubbly person, like, not really into, like, getting involved with people unless they want to get involved with me. And it's more of, like, I'm a light. But when I feel threatened or I feel like somebody's just trying to have one up on me, I get angry. And I never been this type of person before. So it's like I'm dealing with it. But I feel like even in that moment, I felt bad for her because she was going through abuse. She was getting like beat on for little
The
things.
cousin.
Yeah, the cousin.
Mhm.
So the nights before it would happen, like, you know, you just hear glass breaking in the kitchen and cussing, and she'll come in the room crying. And I feel like that's when she basically took my kindness for weakness. Cause then, like, as she was crying, like, I'll just be like, it's okay. And in this house, I had to sleep in my cousin room because my aunt had a son, and then it was the girl cousin. But it was plenty times I was just like, no, I want to sleep, you know what I'm saying, in my cousin room. My older cousin, he was a boy. And she was like, no, you girls sleep in girls' room, and, you know, boys sleep in boys' room. And I used to hate going in the room.
Yeah.
But, like, I remember everything that happened. I remember really leaving my body when it happened and just
Wow.
wanting to go to sleep after. And
Me
then
too.
I told my dad.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I told my dad, and my dad told me, like, you know, don't tell your mama because she ain't gonna let you come back over. And that was that. So it was just like, okay,
That silence.
since he's not protecting me, and I know if I tell my mama, like, and my dad just came in my life, so I know if I tell my mama, I'm not coming back over. Like, my mama finna beat my daddy and everybody over here.
Literally.
So I know she ain't finna let me come back over here. So it was just like, okay, like, I'll deal with it because
Right.
I want to be around my dad, even though, you know, he came out to be nothing, so it wasn't even worth it. But yeah,
Sacrificing. You was a kid.
yeah.
Right. So you're in that process. Your mom said she had to go back as her adult self to
Mhm.
that 7-year-old and heal her, you
Mhm.
know, get her to the light, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Mhm.
You haven't done that yet, have you?
Well, I have, cause so yeah, when I was molested from 9 to 12, I was raped at 17. I went to college and had a breakdown. I was so depressed,
Oh.
and I finally came out and told my mom, but I didn't feel better about it. So I did have to go back and had to realize, like, why was I so angry? Like, why did I hate myself so much? Why did I want to be this angry person that nobody can touch?
Mhm.
And it was because the chi that I was, it was like
People took advantage of it.
they didn't take her or appreciate her.
Yeah.
And I didn't appreciate her. I hated her for so long because it was just like, you know, if you was this person that was untouchable, nobody can't mess with you, it would never happen.
You blamed yourself.
I did. I blamed myself a lot. I hated myself a lot. And I was doing things that wasn't me.
Mhm.
But it was like, this is going to heal the pain. Or at least, you know, like, tame the pain
Mhm.
until I can come to grips with it. But recently I came to grips with it and I became so angry. I've been lately been angry, not even just like with myself, like with people around me. And I know that it burns bridges. I do. So I know, like, you know, I'm gonna pay for it eventually,
Right.
but I know I tell people after the effect that they have to have patience with me because I'm still dealing and I'm
Right.
still healing with who I am and loving
Absolutely.
who I am. Because this haircut ain't just come because I wanted to try something new. So yeah, I'm dealing and I'm healing, but all I can really say is even through all the pain and all the hatred of myself, I always felt bad for them.
Mhm.
And I didn't never feel bad for myself. Like,
Wow.
I always felt like I knew better, but I didn't because I was a kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm still healing though.
But you have a voice. That's
Yeah.
the big thing.
Yes.
You have a voice because you guys have, and we've got two of them, but this is a series of books, right?
Yeah, it's the trauma series of Lizzie B. the Busy Bee books, and then we'll be creating the healing series.
Right.
So we walk through childhood traumas of child molestation, human sex trafficking, an absentee parent, incarcerated parent, suicidal thoughts, what Black children should do when they come in contact with the police, depression, abuse. So
You're
yeah,
covering a lot of subjects.
we are.
I like this. Lizzie B, the busy bee, it's okay to tell. And this
Yes.
one is Lizzie B, the busy bee, I'm not for sale.
Yes.
So who did you guys collaborate? Did one write one and one?
No, we collaborated on every last book. It was one of those things where, if she come up with ideas and I come up with ideas, then we'll get together and then I'll go over what I had. Because she was in college at the time, so I would send her the print or like the Word doc, and then she'll switch whatever, and then we'll collab on that. And then with the pictures, the illustrations and everything, I would just okay those. But the overall, like having her thoughts and mine into the book, it was a collab.
This is great because this is at a kid's level.
It is.
But it's
healing adults.
Yes.
It's healing adults because a lot of times as an adult, it be your child self. Like I done had so many parents that has got the book and just broke down and went to crying and was like, if I had this when I was younger, and it's one of those things. I just really feel like as a people, we have to get back to the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s of things. Everything is so educated. Everything is so advanced. But at the end of the day, when you are an adult, you have to tap into that child because that is the foundation of the adult that you are. So if you're able to heal that kid, we're able to heal somebody else. And like with my daughter, with her, like she stated with what she's saying, because it's even deeper than what she stated, because there were some points when you have someone of the same sex violate you, then that puts you in a whole nother realm of thinking, am I gay? And she went through that stage, questioning her sexuality. And that's another reason we have to have those conversations with our children, because what I'm learning, even in her rape, the guy that she was dating, he learned how to have sex through pornos. So when a woman in a porno is saying no, but at the end she winds up enjoying that, you have to also understand that this child is only doing what he taught himself to do.
What he thought was acceptable.
Period. And so when we're not having real conversations, when we're not sitting down and breaking it down to our children, because a lot of parents that I speak with, like, I just don't want my kid to be grown before their time. And my answer to that, you can either educate your children to be grown to protect them, or not educate them and allow somebody to prey on them and they become physically grown. Because at 7 years old, I knew what sex was.
Physically grown, but stuck.
Period.
In that
child.
Yes.
Yes. And not being able to articulate certain things because you're dealing with it all on your own, and it's one of those things, like with my daughter, with her process right now, she's trying to battle the shadow. Because your shadow self shows up because it's like, okay, the light your higher self couldn't do anything. So I'm going to come here and protect you. So you find yourself destroying things that you once loved because that's your lower self trying to protect your higher self. And then your original person that you were before the violation goes in hiding. And then people start to see this monster that you were unable to tame because the lighter chi was violated. And what I tell people all the time, bad things happen to good people all the time.
Right. And
good people are capable of doing bad things. So we have to get to a point of understanding when you can come to grips with understanding the dynamic of where you came from. You understand that we all have been guilty of hurting someone, because in my brokenness, I broke some people. Hurt people only know how to hurt people.
Right.
And when you start to heal, then you can start to heal people. But you first have to understand that if you don't reveal it, you can't heal it.
Wow.
And a part of healing it is feeling it. And a lot of us want to skip the feel part, but there is no healing it if you don't feel it first.
Wow. Jeez. It is a journey, isn't it? And you're on your journey, but you're helping so many people in the process.
Yes.
This Because you guys speak and talk to groups
Yeah,
as well,
we do.
right?
Yep.
Um,
Little girls, summer groups. We go to high schools and speak. We actually did the Black Women Heal Day where we went and spoke to, other Black women, because a lot of us, what we don't understand is like a lot of us has been touched by this. And a lot of us have been told, get over it, or, suck it up. There's no such thing as sucking it up.
Yeah. It's gonna seep out.
Period. And what's not dealt with will continue to surface.
Right. This is a great tool for, adults who have been through this.
Yes.
Help them with their trauma, but also adults who want to educate their kid, who don't know how to have this conversation.
Yes, it's an icebreaker.
This helps them.
Yes.
Exactly. So how do they go about getting your books?
They're on Amazon. All they have to do is like type in Lizzie B the Busy Bee, because they're sold all over. Like when you go onto Amazon, they print them on demand, and they ship them in a day or two. But I can't wait for the healing series, because we have to understand that we are not the trauma, we the triumph.
I like that.
The rainbow after the rain.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys are going to have to come back again.
We will.
This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for opening up, being so transparent, sharing your story and what you're doing with the books, and going and speaking to groups and helping people on their healing process.
Yes.
And I mean, you guys kind of have a roadmap.
We do.
Yeah,
we
that
do. A
people can follow.
blueprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, of living your truth and how the sun still shines.
I love that.
We have to just motivate each other to live our truth. When you live your truth, everything else comes and it's able to grow. Because one thing I learned too, like when you carrying all of this baggage, if I came to you and dropped some gems, you so loaded already with stuff that really not even yours, So when you release that, you're able to receive new things, and to bring about change, you have to first release the pain.
Yeah.
So release the pain and bring about change.
Release the pain
and bring about change.
I like that. That's a good way to end.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. Elizabeth Brown, Amazshea Lee. I always hesitate. We have a joke. Can I say her name right? But it's beautiful. So thank you again.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for joining us for another episode of the 411 Live, Real People, Real Talk. I'm Beverly Taylor. We have many episodes. We invite you to check them out. You can find us on Facebook. Our website is the411live.org. If you'd like to contribute and help us in our process to keep these conversations going, we really appreciate that. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and iHeartRadio podcast. You can find us. Again, this is Beverly Taylor, the 411 Live, Real People, Real Talk. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.